Hello, everybody. Randy Patterson here with Boomerosity. When I get to talk to some of the guys and gals who have recorded the soundtrack to our youth, and I'm going way back, not just 40, 50 years, but I'm talking 60 years. I'm blown away, first of all, that these people are still around, but they're still performing. They still have great chops with their vocals and their musicianship. But I'm even more blown away when they come out with a new record. And that's the case with Felix Cavaliere from the Rascals and the Young Rascals. It's got a great new album out called Then and Now. It's got a handful of covers and a handful of brand new stuff. All of it is excellent. You're going to want this record as soon as you hear about it. Buy it. Get it from wherever you got to get it from because you're going to absolutely love it. Maybe even order it directly from Felix at his website. But we had a great chat about the album, and we went back and did some reminiscing on some things. We went way back into his career as far as, certain performances that were on TV, things like that. Got a little inside scoop on a couple of things. It was a lot of fun hearing about that. So without any further ado, here is my third interview with the great Felix Cavaliere. So until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerosity. Take care. Well, man, it's been about a year and a half since you and I spoke last. We talked when your book came out. How did the book turn out for you?
Well, I've been doing pretty well with that. I'll tell you, I've really been doing well. It's been selling. I really can't complain about it. We've had a good time. It's time to write another one, I think. Yeah.
All right. What?
Chapter 2.
All right.
Yeah.
That would be great. And then we'll have to talk about it when that comes out or just before it comes out. So,
Well, when you write a book, you don't know when to end it. I mean, I'm still alive, I'm still going, and a lot of things have happening, which are really exciting too.
yeah. Well, gosh, I mean, I remember, I don't think I told you this when you and I first spoke or even the second time. This is the third time, by the way. But I launched Boomerosity in 2009. And that summer, I was in Dallas at the time. And I saw you at Hippie Fest. You were part of that whole Hippie Fest tour, and
Yeah.
I was blown away by you back then. I was around some backstage. I didn't catch you backstage, but boy, what a
Right.
fun show that all was. And you had the crowd in the palm of your hand. So
Yeah, it was fun. The days when you could team up with a bunch of people like that, like they're few and far between. I mean, there's still like one tour that I know out there, but usually it's very expensive to have a bunch of acts on the same stage these days.
yeah,
And your ticket price is really ridiculous. I mean, I think
yeah.
people should say, well, yeah, that's enough. I can't spend my year's pay on one show.
But with great artists like you guys, and I hate to be kind of dark about it, but I mean, since that show, I mean, we lost Leslie West. We have some
Yeah.
guys that are not
Yeah.
healthy anymore. And,
Yeah.
for guys like me, we want to see you, but we want you
Right.
healthy too.
Well, that's a good point, because my partner, Eddie, excuse me, Gene Cornish, has been coming on the road with me. And, he's not really in that's great shape. He's having trouble walking, and, it's getting a little difficult for him to come out there. It's kind of sad.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough. And same for the crowd. We
Well, that's true. We lost a lot of people with COVID, and,
sure did.
a lot of our generation. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's the whole thing is to kind of keep on keeping on.
That's right. Before I forget, somebody who has kept on keeping on, and I talked to her yesterday, and she wanted me to tell you hello and to give you her love, was Genya Raven.
Oh man, now you're going back. Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah, so she's still out there doing it, huh?
Oh yeah, well, she's got 2 shows on Sirius XM on Little Steven's thing that he's got
Oh,
going.
she's on the air there. Yeah.
Yeah, she has 2 shows, and she just did a re-release of 2 of her albums, the vinyl album. Well,
Good for
CD and
her.
vinyl,
Yeah, good
and
for her.
she is as sassy and tough as ever, man. I had the
Yes.
best time talking with her yesterday. It was a lot of fun.
Goldie and the Gingerbreads. I don't
That's
know.
it. Yep.
That's right, man. That's going back a few years there.
A
tell you.
year or 2, that's for sure. But,
Fantastic.
well, hey, I love this new album, man. I
Oh,
mean,
great. Well, thank you, man.
gosh, you knocked it out of the park. Tell me the backstory on it. What drove you to do it, and all that. Some stories.
Well, came up with this idea, basically, why don't you take 5 songs that influenced you and re-record them, and then write 5 new songs, which is the now part, that show that influence.
Mhm.
So we started doing it, we started doing it pre-COVID,
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden we were locked in. So through the magic of these little Zoom boxes here, we were able to finish it,
Mhm.
and we just had a ball. And it's really interesting because I see, on the backdrop behind you, the vinyls.
Right.
Well, we found out that people want to buy vinyl these days,
Mhm.
which was, I tell you the truth, was really a little bit of a surprise to me because, you know, it's kind of old.
Yeah.
But it took us almost 2 years to get the vinyl pressed.
Mhm.
So we had to just be patient because my manager said, look, there's no sense putting it out without getting at least part of the audience that's going to want the vinyl. Let's get the vinyl. So we
Yeah.
finally got it. And
Yeah.
you have it there and I have it here.
Yeah.
It came out really, really nicely.
Well, I think so. As far as the graphics and all that, but you're right. I mean, our generation is still. One of my dear friends, Jim Kramer. He's a big vinyl collector, and he buys those more than he buys CDs. And it's just something
Yes.
about. Well,
Yeah.
you know how it was. I mean, we got a brand new album. We'd get home, we'd take that wrapper off, and
Exactly.
it was a ritual, man. You pull that thing out, and you're looking at all the liner notes. And I was one of those geeks that liked devouring the liner notes,
Oh yeah.
and
No, I know a lot of people like that. And as I say, I think they whoever it is that's doing the buying here, they want to have something in their hand that they own. Look, I paid this money and I've got this.
yeah,
Instead, there it is on that wave,
yeah,
which is on
the
this little
ether.
corner of you. It's in here someplace. It's got zeros and ones in it. Yeah, that's it. I really
Yeah.
think it's got something to do with it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, it's substantive. We can read it because the print's big enough. All that
True.
kind of
Oh, it's
stuff.
true. Yeah.
Well, are there any unique stories about any of these songs, putting it together, how they come about, how you arrange them, all that kind of stuff?
We're all trying, basically, I was really trying to reproduce what the artist originally intended, like the Ray Charles and the Benny Kings and, all the people that were on there. I was really trying to reproduce that.
Mhm.
So, as far as the great stories, I mean, you know, I grew up with all these songs being part of my DNA. I mean, I just loved them, and the hardest part was finding 5 of them to say, "These are the 5 we're gonna use." There's so many,
Yeah. Yeah.
that, like, I really I tell you the truth, I really wanna do this again. If the people like this, we had such fun doing this, because it just reopened all those doors, and
Mhm.
you just listen to the way, you know, this a long time ago. These songs were out many years
Mhm.
ago. How good they were, and how good they sounded, and
Mhm.
how musicianship was, and the mixing was, and you know, it really was a really interesting project.
Putting a song together then, I know had the big tape and there's a lot of splicing, cutting, stretching out on floors and a lot of tape. I mean, adhesive tape, all that. Now we have the digital stuff. But do you feel like that has the digital part of recording this kind of music, and especially these classics like you're doing, did that in your mind, did it take away any from the joy of those old songs, or did you notice anything different, or did it make it more fun?
Well, it made it quicker, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
I mean, it's much quicker. Um, I don't even know if people listening to your broadcast really know what you're talking about when you say you had to take those things apart and put it back together. That was so long ago. I
Yeah.
mean, seriously, you literally had to cut tape,
Mhm.
and you had to be very adept at it because you had to make sure that it went together without a bump or without sounding like,
Yeah.
it was in, and nowadays you can do that 100 times and nobody even know you did it once.
Yeah.
You can do it in the middle of syllables.
Yeah.
Like if a person is singing and says a two-syllable word, you can take the first syllable, cut, and use the second syllable from another. It's unbelievable today.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm kind of a fan of technology. I really enjoy new things, especially when they work, you
Yeah.
know.
So, calling card, what song would you point to on this album that you say, "Hey, you know my work, but if you hear this song, you're really gonna love the rest of the record."
Well, I really I like to doing Soul Love, which is the
Oh, yeah.
last cut.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I had uh, an old friend of mine introduced me to actually two young Canadians
Hmm.
who flew down to Nashville, and it was so funny because they're the Canadian songwriters and artists up there, and they came down to my house. I got a studio in my house, fairly nice studio, and they said that's okay. We're going to use our laptop. I said what? So they came in literally with a little Mac. I think it was I don't even think it was a Pro. I think it was a Mac Air. They did the whole thing on that. We wrote the whole thing on that, and we almost recorded it all on there. We ended up using a little bit more fine art vocal, But there's a perfect example. I mean, I said, "Well, aren't you going to use my speakers or anything?" I mean, So I really enjoyed these young guys. They have a way of doing things today that's really interesting. It's techno, it's technology, but it is not a techno song. It's
Yeah.
an old school, kind of pop R&B, whatever you want to call it,
Mhm.
tune. So I really like that one.
Talking about the technology and the old way of recording, I remember reading, I didn't interview him, but I was reading where, gosh, it's several years ago. I forget how far back it is. Um, and Joe Walsh, he recorded an album called Analog Man. And I guess if I'm remembering correctly, he recorded it on tape. They loaded it, then, played it through digital, mixed it, and then, went from there. I don't know if they put it back on tape after that, but, just you guys that have the amazing ears, you can tell there's that warmth and that crispness that comes from the tape. And, I guess audiophiles love the vinyl because that comes through that stylus on their tone arm. And there's, and we don't mind the pops and the cracks, and all that kind of thing. That's part of the enjoyment of listening to the record.
Well, it's true, but seriously, I mean, there's a vast audience that does not have the $1,000, $2,000 turntable,
Yeah.
and so basically, that's when you used to make records in the old days. I mean, and still today, you have to get down to the level where somebody is, listening it in their car.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, like in their car today is a lot different from in their car then. You know, I
Better
mean,
speakers.
a lot of people have really great sound system in their cars, but
Mhm.
in the old days you had to get down to the lowest common denominator
AM. Yeah.
and AM radio, and so you have to have a number of speakers to listen to, and there was a talent in that. Um, Mixing is the word we used to, that's the word. And some of the I'm sure the engineers know all that. That's their job. Make
Yeah.
it sound good everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. From the phone to the high-end stereo. and
Exactly.
and not lose anything in there. We're reminiscing a lot, and so I want to kind of shift gears a little bit, if you don't mind. And you performed going way back here. You performed "Good Loving" at the on the Ed Sullivan Show, and I was
Yeah.
just big historic moment. What what recollections do you have of that? Was there a rehearsal? Were you guys lip syncing to a recording? Anything like that?
Nope. Let me tell you, that show was live in every sense of the word. Basically, what happened, you would start on a Monday AM, extremely early. Well, I would say about 7 o'clock to be exact.
Wow.
We would all show up at that studio, which was in New York. It's the studio that Steve Colbert is using.
Mhm.
Was David Letterman's. It was, like basically, and you would work every morning for 6 mornings at 7 a.m. I'm sorry, 5 morning, Monday through Friday. Saturday, you would do, and everybody else would do a complete show on stage in front of an audience, not televised.
Whoa.
Sunday was the live
Game
thing,
time. Yeah.
and he screwed it up every time. Because when it's live, really live, not taped, you've got X amount of seconds to speak. I'm going to introduce this group. I have 15 seconds. I have 10 seconds. If he would see someone in the audience that he recognized, because obviously he was a well-known man in the New York, he would lose 5 seconds, 3 seconds. Chaos would ensue backstage, complete chaos, you know. And that's why they kind of developed where they would put the musical acts last, so that they could fade us out. You know what I mean? So,
Now
you
we
know,
know.
I mean, seriously, if you had a 3 minute song, forget it. You're lucky if you got a minute and, because you had to make up lost time. And there's famous stories about certain comedians that were asked to cut, and you can't cut a comedy show. You can't, you got to go with the whole script.
Yep.
Anyway, it was really, it was a fascinating adventure to do that show.
Well,
I really,
you wound up playing back in there on Letterman, right?
well, was it into the studio? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the studio, yeah, but I mean, we did that show 6 times at Sullivan.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I knew
Yeah,
you
we did it
did it a
6
couple of
times,
times.
we used to, I thought they were gonna give us our own, dressing room, just let us hang our clothes here, we'll be right back,
You that house band, right?
Yeah. No, it was really interesting. He was a very, very interesting man, who, really made a big impact, there's no question about it.
Did you hang with him at all? Did you get to see
No,
it?
no, no,
No?
no, no. A different generation, totally different.
Yeah.
He looked at us, he kind of looked at us and what the hell's going on with this generation? Look at these guys. Do I know them? You don't know us. No, he was from another world. I mean, seriously, but he was a very important man.
Yep, yep. Well, I mean, after the Elvis fiasco, I would have thought he would have been a little more in tune with you guys and been able to wanna hang with you a little bit or something.
No, actually, there was a bit of a disconnect there because he was part of seriously a complete other generation, and I really think he related more to like the old time comedians, and
Vaudeville and all.
the people
Yeah,
from I mean, rest his soul, Tony Bennett's, and
yeah,
people like that, that he would have also on the show, which is fine. I mean, I understand.
yeah.
I mean, as the generations go by, you look at it, I understand what he's talking about, man.
Yeah, me too. We go, "What are they playing? We can't hear
Yeah.
it," you know?
Who are these aliens on my stage? Yeah.
That's right. Well,
Yeah.
like I said, you came back years later and played, performed for Letterman. How did that
Yeah.
seem surreal to you to be able to do that? Tell me about that. That had to
What
be
you mean
pretty
in the
weird.
same theater? In the same
Ye
theater?
Yeah, yeah.
You don't really have time to think about things like that because the show. I mean, Letterman was a great show. I mean, the band, they're dear friends of mine. The Will Lees and Paul
Mhm.
Schaefer's, and you know the main thing is both the sound and the video and the audio improved so dramatically.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, and like unlike the other one, which was live, you could you could kind of make it, you had a chance to rehearse,
Yeah.
with a perfect sound system. You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
you had a knowledgeable musical director there. Paul Schaefer knows every note of everybody's repertoire and
Mhm.
knows how to play it and corrects you if you didn't play it the way you used to play it. You know, and the only difference is that the way David Letterman's show was, it was freezing in there.
I've
He
heard
kept
that.
it he kept it so cold that you were like, you were like, but it's a whole different animal that's many years later, of course.
Well, you grew up in that area. Did you ever, like, walk by those theaters before you were famous and go, Wonder what it's like to perform there, or someday I'm gonna perform there. Was there anything like that with any of those big
Well,
theaters there?
sure, I mean, like, I think, like everybody, whoever's like, looked up to try to be something
Mhm.
in the entertainment business, those are the places where they were. And then ultimately, we meaning the original Rascals on Broadway. We did that Broadway show Once Upon a Dream. Now that that was a real treat,
Tell me
because
about it.
you're going into the Richard Rodgers Theater,
Mm,
which is where Oklahoma was done, and
mhm.
like nowadays, Hamilton is done. It just walking in there, even though it's just a regular theater. You know what I mean? It's like any other place that has been there for all those years. There's a special feeling in there.
Yeah.
This is where all this took place. You know,
Mm.
and that's something that you really appreciate when you're there.
Yeah. Well, gosh, where you live now in Nashville, man, every time I go there, it seems like there's a whole new skyline. And I mean, but New York has been able to keep a lot of those great theaters and, keep them current. And I
Well,
know probably lost some, but with Nashville, I just hope they can keep the Ryman from being tore down and put a 100-story high rise on it, you know?
no, I think the Ryman is safe.
I
I
hope
really
so.
do. Yeah, because it's there is even though it's kind of hard to as you say, believe with all the constructions going. There is a sense of keeping the old here.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, but it's so different. This place that it's kind of sad. The Music Row area, which
Yeah.
I'm sure you're familiar,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's half gone.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, even when we've been here, my wife and I, we've been here for about at least 30 years. And when we drive, downtown, we go like, "Oh my God, look what happened to," you know, well, it's not there anymore.
Yep.
You know, so you can't stop progress. I don't like when they cut down the trees.
Yeah.
That's what bothers
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Because I just recently took a trip to Mississippi. Uh, as a matter of fact, to sign that album that's behind you, I had to do autograph copies for. We're putting that on sale right now, and I noticed that when you head into Mississippi, there's all those beautiful pine trees,
Mhm.
for miles. They're all gone. I mean, like they're not here anymore. That bothers me.
Yeah. Well, I live in the Smokies, and with
Uh,
all the development here, and, I'm thinking, don't we I mean, of course, I can say that now that I live here, right, Felix? But, I'm thinking, aren't there enough cabins? Aren't there enough apartments? We're not gonna be able to house everybody in these mountains, and they come here for the beauty. They don't come here to look at a bunch of other cabins, out their window.
until the people who live there decide to stop it.
Mhm.
It's not going to stop. I
Yeah.
mean, look at this tragedy in Maui that's going on right now. I mean, the first thing that happens, the developers are coming in. They want to make hotels there, and wow, and then you've got these people buying land up like and trying to prohibit the natives from swimming on their own beaches.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something that the public has got to you got to stay awake, otherwise it'll be gone.
Gotta dig your heels in. So, you one more thing, then I wanna circle back to the album. You've had a lot of songs in movies and TV. Are there any unique stories about those and any mind blowers that you think about today and going, "Holy crap, that's my song and that big movie, that TV show," anything unique to you about that?
Well, the big one seriously was the one that first they came out the first years ago. The first one. What the hell was that called? I don't remember. It was so long ago. Where they put in all the old songs from the '60s. That really turned the tide. Because there was nothing until that movie came out.
Mhm,
And then they put in like all the oldies into that show, and then the next thing you know, uh, the powers that be were starting to realize that there's an audience out there, the baby boomers that we could cater to. Let's
mhm,
do commercials. Let's things like that. The movies they take such a long time to develop.
mhm.
You get a notice that they're they either they want you to write a song or they're using an old song. you know. So it's kind of a really slow process. It doesn't really allow too much for exciting, ideas to come out. You get into this movie, you get into that movie. It's a long process. One of them that I liked was the one that Robert De Niro did years ago. Uh, that had was the Bronx Tale.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
uh,
I had Beautiful Morning in that. Well,
yeah.
I got a chance to meet him through that, so
Oh
that's a
wow.
that's a special one for me,
I bet.
Uh, they put us in the scene, where they put Beautiful Morning in, as a matter of fact, at a racetrack, which was a great scene,
Oh
you
wow.
know? But, yeah, getting to meet some of the people that you've watched for many years, make those things special.
Well, I mean, here you are a star and you're saying that. I mean, is there anybody that kind of gets you flummoxed when you think about meeting them, or when you did meet them? Is it somebody like, oh crap, I can't believe I just met so and so or about to meet so and so? Who Anybody that got you thinking?
I don't really get flummoxed by them, but, there's an appreciation, of meeting folks. Like, when I was doing my book, uh, I jotted down, like, all the people that I've met over the years.
Hmm.
And I mean, I s I go back to Bing Crosby, man, you
Yeah.
know? And you say, like, "Wow, I actually met this guy," Andy Williams, like, people that, like, you say, "Wow," I just really, I mean, there's some people that I didn't meet. I never met Elvis, for example,
Mhm.
I didn't get a chance to meet him, but, I've met Michael Jackson, you know what I'm
Wow.
saying? And,
Yeah.
a lot of people that, like, uh, i over the years, uh I studied with a guru for many years,
I
and
remember
through
that.
him, I
Yeah.
met a lot of people because he would speak at the UN. I meet all these diplomats, and it's really interesting meeting people, and like Salman Rushdie, I met him, and Peter Max, I met Peter Max,
Oh,
and you
wow.
put this all in your repertoire, and it's just like they're people,
Yeah.
they're just people who have a certain talent or a gift, but, there's many stories I could tell you, but I don't know if it's for publication, but, you know yeah, yeah, but, I mean, we're all just people,
Yeah.
and that comes across after a certain amount of years, and then unfortunately, there's some people you meet that, like, you really wouldn't let them in your house, you know?
Yeah.
"Don't come in on my kids, whatever you do," you know?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I hear you. But, and for
I'm
me
sure
as a
you know too, yeah, absolutely.
as a fan, a lot of my friends go, "Wow, you got to meet this person or talk to that person," and, you know, I would say 99.9% of them have always been great, and, it's always flattering to me, you being a good example of this when I get to talk to them more than once. Like I said earlier, this is our 3rd time. But there's a very famous one that I've met, never interviewed him, and they'll remain nameless. But I just talked to a mutual friend that's a friend, or former friend of this person, talking about a meet and greet, and these people, some friends of theirs, spent 5 grand, 5 grand for a meet and greet. They had 10 seconds with
Oh,
this
get
person.
out, 10
Yeah,
seconds.
okay, maybe so. I mean, it
Wow.
was,
No, no, I believe that. This is, pretty interesting to me.
yeah, it,
Pretty interesting because that happens quite a bit. I've heard that story of many famous faces.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
uh, okay, that's okay.
And I get that because you guys are always being hammered. Guys like me hammering you for an interview. I get it, but then why open up the door for that and then charge an exorbitant price, only to say, "Well, you had your 5 seconds with me. Move along, little chickadee," that kind of thing. And I just, and that hurts their image with the fans, which, guys like you and I we get a little jaded on this thing, but to watch somebody else, that might be the only celebrity they ever meet. And, but for me though, you know, to say that I got to talk to you 3 times is a big deal to me.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
And to be able to see your peers and see you guys still alive and still
Well,
performing and being great at it, that's huge to me.
that's a big deal there because we lost a lot of people over these last years, and
Mhm,
you
mhm.
got to treasure the people that you could see. And I really feel that unfortunately a lot of people are going to say, well, maybe the last time I see them, that may be the last time they're on stage.
Yeah.
I don't really like the idea of somebody really, being very ill on stage,
No,
and I've
no,
seen that, on many of the cruises that I take, a lot of the rock and roll bands and the old guys that I know, sometimes it brings tears to my eyes. Like they're not in good shape,
no. Yeah,
and so I mean, there's something to be said about that. But in the long run, seriously, we're all just people, man, and
yeah,
we've all got a purpose
that's
being
right.
here, and the more you don't think about that, I mean, the more especially you act, but really, everybody has a purpose here.
That's right. I agree. I agree. Well, bringing it back around to this great new album, is there anything on this album that when you're recording it or when you hear it now, and this, is talking about the movies, TV, being, on a late show somewhere nowadays, you from this album, you go, you know what? I could see this one in this kind of movie or this kind of TV program. Is
Oh
there
well,
one?
I don't know about that. That's a whole thing. Yeah, yeah, because the movies that are out. I mean, my God, we got Netflix making movies and Amazon making movies. Yeah, I could see them in some movies, but like I say, the point is that they have to see them in the movies.
That's true.
It's there's certain films, I think it was Midnight Special or something like that that's those movies, those songs were in. There's certain soundtracks that sell the picture,
Hmm.
you know. And then again, there's a lot of things that just I don't understand why they're there.
Yeah.
Maybe the producer likes it or somebody likes it, but I mean, when you got a good soundtrack, like there's a I think it's called a Slow Horse or something like that. It's on Apple TV.
Hmm. I haven't seen that. Huh.
It's an English thing, and they've got Mick Jagger doing the theme song.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
And, it's nothing you've ever heard, but it's Mick Jagger, and it's really cool, man. So somehow he must have liked either the actors or their script, but I think it's on Apple, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, I'll have to
And
check it out.
it's darn good, man. It's like a tongue-in-cheek detective story, England,
Mhm.
and, I think they just did 1 year, and it's Mick Jagger doing it. That really, really, I think that really helps the show.
Yeah. Was Scorsese involved with it at all? Because those 2
No,
always
no, not that I
really?
know of. I'm
Oh,
not sure
okay.
who's involved with it. It's just that, it's got a famous English actor who I don't remember his name, who's very good, you know, and it's very laid back. It's kind of like in a, it's a guy who's in charge of misfit detectives, you
Ah,
know,
okay.
and really good, man. And what's his name? There's another show that's on too that was just repeated called Justified. Have you heard of Justified?
I've heard of
And
it, but I
man, the
haven't watched it.
music in that the first 4, I think they did 4 years, was fantastic,
Ah,
you know, fantastic, and the new one, not quite as good music, but the old one was really cool. I used to watch it just for listen to the music, you know, but, like, if you look at it, I mean, seriously, nowadays, you've got at least got a fighting chance to hear the music. But
yeah.
in the old days, like when you look at a television, the speaker's that big and the screen's that big, you're taking a second, you know, oh wow, what about us? But yeah, it's some really, really, really good musical scores. I mean, there's some people, like Star Wars
Oh,
people.
yeah.
I
Oh, yeah.
mean, I mean John Williams. I mean, I met him at a we have a concert hall here, and you listen, and you say, "Oh, I know those. I know. Of course, you know those. You heard them at the movies."
Hmm. You're talking about the Skirmerhorn there? Is
Yep.
Yep. Oh, what a great,
Yeah.
great venue there. Wow.
And you just feel like, Hans Zimmer is another fellow from Germany that, that's Superman. I know that song. I know that, and it's really interesting the power that music has.
Oh, it is. I mean, that's why I do what I do, Felix, because we're talking about music that goes back to our youth that you had a big part of, and that just we hear the first 3 notes and we're flashed back 50, 60 years, and
Yes, sir, man. That's a
that's
long way back
magical.
too.
That is
Yeah.
magical. So, what's on your radar for the next year? You've got this album coming out. I'm sure you're going to be doing some touring in support of it, in addition to the classics you have. But what is on your radar on that?
Well, right now, we've just done a project which I think can be announced. I hope so. We're very much a part of the Hawaiian Island
Mhm.
people. That tragedy that they had out there. I wrote a song years ago called "My Hawaii,"
Ah,
and
yeah.
we've re-recorded that, and we got some special artists on it that everybody's going to really say like, "Wow."
Ooh.
To raise money for those people out there who are just devastated. That right now is the first thing on the horizon, and then of course there's the touring.
Mhm.
We're doing the touring, and it's just I really feel like I really don't want to stop. I've done symphony with my music at the Shimmerhorn.
Mhm.
I'd
Mhm.
like to continue to do that. My friend Frankie Valli tells me once you do one symphony, you'll never want to go back. You want to keep
Yep.
doing. There's a lot of new vistas to cross. I can stay healthy enough to do them.
Yeah, yeah. Now you pronounce that. I've asked all the locals there whenever I was there. Is it Schermerhorn or Skirmerhorn? And I'm hearing both from all the natives. And you said it one way, I said it another. I just wish somebody would make up my mind on that. Beautiful
Well, I'm
venue
sure I'm sure there's an answer somewhere, but it's the same
somewhere.
thing. It's the sure same thing with my last name. I mean, if I found two people that said it the same, I'd be very happy.
Well, Felix, this is a lot of fun. Hey, when that song comes out, if you want to get a friend or two of yours together and we can do one of these and help promote it. I mean, I'm not Rolling Stone magazine, but I can get it, reach a few more people out there. If you want to do that, just let me know. And
It'll be out within weeks because the event they really need money. Are you in touch with Melissa Kusaret?
yes, I am. That's
Would you
how we
please
got together.
mention
So
that to her that we'd like to do that again?
I will, and we'll
It's
just
going to
roll
be
that out.
pretty exciting, man.
All right. Well, that'll be great. Let's plan on doing that. I'll work through her on
Excellent.
that, and
I look
we'll
forward
make
to
it happen.
That'll be the fifth time we speak. How about that?
That's right. I love it.
All
So,
right.
well, Felix, stay healthy. I look forward to seeing you down the road on one of your shows, and maybe it'll be in Nashville when I come in for a visit. But either way, we're going to see each other. We'll bump elbows and say hello. Okay.
I hope you do that when you get to town. Why not?
Well, we'll do it. All right, my friend. Take care,
All
and
right.
we'll see you next
Thank
time.
you.